So your extensive publishing career includes to date more than 20 authored or edited books and many, many book chapters and journal articles. You served as the president of the American Education Research Association, AERA, from 1999 to 2000. You are a member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, as well as the National Academy of Education. You've also received numerous awards and honors for your research and scholarship from, for example, the Spencer Foundation, the Carnegie Corporation of New York, Harvard here, national awards for education reporting from the Education Writers Association, Educational Research Association awards, and honorary doctorates from the University of Nijmegen?
Nijmegen.
Okay. University of Oslo and University of Toledo. So what's next? What else would you like to accomplish in your professional career that you have not yet done?
What would I like to do next? Well, I think there is lots and lots of work to be done in understanding how oral participation in classroom discussions, in debates and discussion, relates directly to students' abilities to write. I think that I have a strong conviction from having observed classrooms, word generation classrooms, and from collecting students' writing and reading a lot of it, that there are direct benefits to having the conversation before you have to write your position on something. So we have the data to do that. It's still a project for many years to work through all of those data, but that's something I would like to do. And I would like to do that because I think it would be the basis for providing rigorous support for the claim that we need to do lots more discussion in classrooms, that really convincing teachers that the time, which of course is the most precious resource in education, but the time invested in regular classroom discussion really pays off in better writing and, in fact, in deeper and more purposeful and motivated reading. So that's one thing I'd like to do. Another thing I'd like to do is really think seriously about cultural models for early childhood education and how those differ and what the consequences of those are. I collaborate with a woman, professor at the University of Oslo named Vibeke Grover, who is doing a study in what are called the kindergartens in Norway, centers that serve children 1 through 5 until they go to school at 6, and these are incredibly different from American early childhood settings. They're different in ways that I think are admirable, and they're different in ways that I think are not so admirable, partly because they don't do they're much less structured, and so they're I think sort of risky settings for second language learners, of whom there are a lot in Norway nowadays. But the kind of cultural commitments and beliefs that make those preschool settings the way they are, as compared to the ones that make U.S. preschool settings the way they are, as compared to the ones that I've observed in reception classes, pre-K classes in South Africa, for example, or in Australia or in China. I think coming to understand how what we do with children aged 1 to 5 both reflects cultural commitments about who children are and what they need, and at the same time generates consequences for academic success later on, would be a really fun project to undertake.
Okay. What impact has your research had of which you are most proud?
I think I think one of the things I'm proud of is the degree to which the reading wars really did kind of end after preventing reading difficulties. And that was not a product of my research. It was a product of my lack of credentials,
right.
which led me to chair that committee. But it was, I think, very much a product of the committee's of the committee's work, but then also of a lot of work by some members of the committee who remained very committed to the project to talk widely about what we all believed and to really emphasize this message that, yeah, there might be bits of disagreement on one end or the other, but 95% of what we do with kindergarten, first grade, second graders in teaching them to read, 95% of that is stuff we can really all agree on, and maybe we should just get busy and do it.
Okay. What impact would you like your research still to have? Is there something that you really feel like you had the potential for impact and it didn't make the waves that you anticipated?
Well, that's an interesting question. Is there some huge finding I have that didn't make waves? Yeah. Well, it's not that it didn't make waves. It's that people steadfastly refused to believe it. One of the first studies I did when I was first in the Netherlands was a study showing that older second language learners are, other things being equal, faster, more efficient than younger second language learners. Mm. So I studied a group of English speakers who immigrated to Holland and were learning Dutch, and they ranged in age from 3 through adulthood. And it was quite clear that the 3, 4, 5-year-olds were very, very, very slow learners of Dutch. And the fastest and most efficient group were the adolescents who were in pretty rigorous academic settings, and also in social settings where they needed Dutch to make friendships and so forth. And the adults were somewhat slower than the adolescents, but they weren't as slow as the 6-year-olds. Mm-hmm. And people just won't believe this, right? We are so committed to the myth of critical periods and adults can't learn foreign languages, and it's, I'm too old, I can't do that. And it's a huge break on individuals' willingness to put themselves out there and do something that they could have a lot of fun with, namely studying and learning another language. And I've gone back to that study from time to time and written things with various students that were efforts to try to reawaken the notion that whatever critical period they might be, it's not irreversible. I mean, there are certain things that it's easier to do when you're young, and certain things it's easier to do when you're older. They don't add up to a critical period for second language learning, and it just doesn't penetrate.
Okay. What do you wish your scholarly legacy to be?
Well, I think, like most of us, I wish my scholarly legacy to be a lot of smart, well-trained people who maybe remember some of the principles they've learned from working with me or working with the projects that I've been involved in. I think I'm very proud to have students who continue on various of these lines of work, from looking at age differences in second language acquisition to looking at predictors of literacy accomplishment to early childhood features of good quality in early childhood programs to effectiveness of bilingual education.